If you had to make a Mount Rushmore of all-time Georgia Bulldogs, who would be on your list? That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Now, I know that Mount Rushmore is only 4 spots, but in this case, I think 3 are pretty obvious. It's Herschel Walker, Stetson Bennett, and Kirby Smart. Now, the 4th spot is open for debate, and I'm going to get into that and a lot more in this video, but Herschel Walker is arguably the greatest college football player of all time. 1982 Heisman winner, led Georgia to a national title in 1980. He's on the list. What Stetson Bennett did the past 2 years, he's on the list too. Whether you like it or not, Stetson Bennett is an all-time Georgia Bulldog. His story from walk-on to leading Georgia back to the championship is one of the all-time great college football stories. He is on the Georgia Bulldog Mount Rushmore. And then Kirby Smart, basically waking the sleeping giant that was Georgia football, coaching them to 2 straight national titles with more likely on the way. Pretty good player as well during his time in the late 90s, 16 career interceptions. Kirby Smart is on the list as well. So that's 3 pretty, no-brainers that go on the Mount Rushmore. Now, before I dig into the 4th, which I think is down to 2 players, have to plug the newsletter. Dean just wrote a What We're Hearing on Inside Scoop on the team. I just put out a What We're Hearing this morning on recruiting, lots of different updates on the recruiting trail. Make sure you sign up to the newsletter so you don't miss any of that. We've got lots of stories over on Dawg Post that you're not going to read anywhere else. Sign up to the newsletter. Okay, so the number 4 spot, I've been debating, is it Frank Sinkwich or is it David Pollock? The more I think about it, the more I think that Frank Sinkwich should get that number 4 spot. I just think, 1942 Heisman winner, led Georgia to the national title in 1942. That means a lot. And he was the greatest Georgia Bulldog in program history until Herschel Walker, got on campus. I think it's only fair that someone in that, timeline of Georgia football history, a guy who led them to a championship, won a Heisman, he should be on the Mount Rushmore if we're talking about all-time Georgia Bulldogs, right? Frank Sinkwich is one of them. Set an NCAA single season record for total offense at the time, over 2,180 yards. In his 3-year career, he rushed for over 2,000 yards, passed for 2,000 yards, accounted for 60 touchdowns. Dude beat Florida in 1941 with a broken jaw. He's one of the toughest players to ever play for Georgia. Former number 1 overall pick, College Football Hall of Famer. His number 21 is retired. I think number 4 has to go to Frank Sinkwich. But David Pollock has a real argument here to be this number 4 player. I know a lot of younger Georgia fans don't remember him playing. Crazy that was 20 years ago. But this dude was unbelievable from 2002 to 2004. SEC Player of the Year in 2002 and 2004. SEC Defensive Player of the Year in 2004. The Bednarik Award winner in 2004. Ted Hendricks Award winner in 2003 and 2004. He won the Lombardi in 2004. Won the Lott Trophy in 2004. 3-time first-team All-American. The only other Bulldog to do that was Herschel Walker. 36 sacks. He is an all-timer. He's a College Football Hall of Famer. He is the best defensive player to ever play for the Georgia Bulldogs. Had the strip interception against South Carolina, an all-time play in Bulldog history. If you want to put David Pollock on your Mount Rushmore, I totally get it, totally understand it. He is one of the best players in program history. What about Aaron Murray? The guy is a statistical, phenomenon. He has more passing yards in a career and more career passing touchdowns than anyone, not only at Georgia, but in the SEC. This guy is an SEC legend, was very, very good, had 3,000 passing yards in each of his 4 years, 4-year starter, won a lot of games. Again, 121 passing touchdowns, first in the SEC. Over 13,000 career passing yards. The guy lit up just about everyone he went against. Came 1 play away from leading Georgia to a national championship in 2012. The guy is an all-time Bulldog. And if we're expanding this Mount Rushmore to a top 10, I would put Aaron Murray on it. He is still probably one of the more underrated players in Georgia Bulldog history. Dude was really good, and I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. Champ Bailey. Do-it-all player. Obviously, we know what he did in the NFL, but a lot of people forget that guy was tremendous. Could play offense, defense, special teams. He was unbelievable. The guy rarely left the field. He's an all-time Bulldog. Hines Ward did a little bit of everything too. One of the best pure athletes to ever play for Georgia. He's on that list. Nick Chubb. What Nick Chubb did was absolutely deserves credit. He is an all-time Bulldog. he could come in at number 5 or number 6 all time. Definitely a top 10 Bulldog ever. Rushed for 4,769 career yards, second at Georgia, second in the SEC as well. 44 touchdowns, tied for 8th in the SEC, second at Georgia. Just a tackle-breaking machine. From his first year in 2014, ran through everybody. The guy was unbelievable as a freshman. In 2015, was running through everyone until his injury at Neyland Stadium up at Tennessee. Respectable in 2016, but 2017 helped lead Georgia all the way to the national championship game. His runs and really game against Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl is unforgettable. Sony Michel had a better Rose Bowl, and he's probably, you can make the case, he's a top 10 Bulldog of all time too, but Nick Chubb absolutely should be in the conversation as one of the greatest Bulldogs of all time. Charlie Trippi, going back a little bit, you can't talk about Georgia football without talking about Charlie Trippi, the Maxwell Award winner in 1946, Southeastern Conference Player of the Year, first team All-American, 2-time first team All-SEC selection. His number 62 is retired. Tough as nails, gritty, one of the best football players of that era in college football. He's an all-time Georgia Bulldog as well. Charlie Trippi should be in the conversation as one of the greats. Keep going down the list. Sony Michel, talked about him earlier. What about Roquan Smith? Arguably the greatest linebacker to ever play at the University of Georgia. What he did in 2017 was phenomenal. Top 10 pick, tackle after tackle. His game against Notre Dame and South Bend was unbelievable. If you go back and watch that, had big play after big play in the SEC championship game against Auburn, against Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl. He is an all-time Bulldog. So Roquan Smith is in the conversation of top 10 ever. From a talent standpoint, you have to talk about Todd Gurley, best player in college football in 2014. What he did against Clemson just was not fair. That 2014 season opener. I'm not even sure if you put Herschel Walker at his peak in that game to kick off the 2014 season against Clemson in Athens. I'm not even sure Herschel Walker does that to Clemson, what Todd Gurley did. He was unbelievable at his peak and truly one of the most talented players to ever play for Georgia. Garrison Hurst, what he did in 1992 specifically, was a Heisman Trophy finalist. He was very, very good. Nakobe Dean, where does Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis sit as far as all-time Bulldogs, right? They're up there. I don't know if they're top 10, but they're up there. AJ Green, Terrence Edwards, Robert Edwards, Mike Bobo, not only as a quarterback, but, as one of the best offensive coordinators in program history. Mike Bobo should be in the conversation as a fantastic top 20 Bulldog of all time. I think you could put him in that conversation. David Green, 140 plus games for Georgia, 2002 SEC champion. He is one of the more underrated players in program history as well. Did you talk about Vince Dooley? Where's Vince Dooley on this list? He's probably in that top 15, top 20, maybe a top 10 to some people. Larry Munson never played for Georgia, but Larry Munson and Georgia football go hand in hand. You can't talk about the history of Georgia football without talking a little bit about Larry Munson. Where is he as far as all-time Bulldogs go? It's a big list. Malcolm Mitchell is one of the best Bulldogs of his era. Bill Goldberg, WCW champion. Are you kidding me? Pretty good Bulldog. Good wrestler, but didn't know how to wrestle. But still, Bill Goldberg guy. Bill Goldberg guy. He's not an all-time Bulldog, but he's an all-time name. But at the end of the day, the top 4 are pretty simple. Stetson Bennett, Herschel Walker, Kirby Smart. At least the top 3 are pretty simple. I would put Frank Sinkwich at number 4. Some people could put David Pollock at number 4. Some people might put Nick Chubb at number 4, or Vince Dooley, or Charlie Trippi. I would understand it if you did that. But at the end of the day, there are so many players to name, so many great moments. I guess it just depends on what matters the most to you. Is it, the Heismans? And, that obviously matters. I have both of Georgia's Heisman in my Mount Rushmore, top 4. Is it, bringing Georgia to a championship? That obviously means a lot with Stetson Bennett and Kirby in there, and again, Frank Sinkwich and Herschel Walker. If you win a national championship at Georgia, your name is, implanted in the program all time, right? So that's who I think. I want to hear your Mount Rushmores. Put them in the comment section below. I think everyone will have those three, Kirby, Stetson, and Herschel. If you don't, please explain to me why one of them is left out. I'd like to hear that, but have to go with some honorable mentions. I know I listed a lot of guys. Honorable mentions, Gordon Ely, Kelso, Washawn Ely, Trey Matthews, Brian Evans. Remember Jakar, the Hitman Hamilton, right? Trip Chandler, dude never dropped a pass. And the great Fatone Bauda. So those are just a few honorable mentions. I'm kidding with those. Just wanted to name a few guys on the opposite of Mount Rushmore, Georgia Bulldogs. That was probably mean, probably a little too mean, but you know, just having fun with it. If you've been watching 10.5 minutes in, maybe you got a chuckle out of me bringing back Washawn Ely's name, or Gordon Ely, Kelso, or Trip Chandler. Trip Chandler, what a joke. Okay, that was me. Yes, who is your Mount Rushmore? Let me know in the comment section below. Sign up to the newsletter. I had fun making this video, just off-season video, right? Mid-June. Who are the best Bulldogs of all time? Who are the top 4 Bulldogs of all time, in your opinion? Let me know in the comment section below. Did I leave anyone out? Is my list crazy? Who should be in? Who should not? Let me know. All right, see you on the next video, and hopefully I'll see you over on Dawg Post.